Hello.
Yes, sir.
So, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
अच्छा ठीक.
Welcome, Sejal. Welcome to this session. Session. Welcome everyone. We'll start the session in few minutes. Hang tight. Till the time, uh, I've already shared the link for social media platforms. So do social media platforms, the community, well to get questions. Already shared the link in the chat box. Hang tight. Hello, Makaran sir, am I audible clearly?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Okay. So, hello and welcome everyone. I'm Shubh Parmar, your host for today's webinar. My team and I are here to make sure you have a seamless and engaging experience. If you have any questions or need assistance, feel free to use the chat window. We are here to help. So, the topic for today is migrating applications and databases to AWS. Um, so, today's event is sponsored by Synergetics. Synergetics is a leading edge learning solutions provider in India offering specialized training and consulting services. We empower businesses and professionals to thrive in today's fast evolving tech landscape by delivering transformative learning experiences. Our core focus is on enabling digital transformation through innovative skilling programs, advisory services, and end to end implementation support. From modernizing IT frameworks to mastering emerging technologies like AI, cloud computing, and DevOps, Synergetics is committed to equipping you with the tools and knowledge to succeed. We are thrilled to have Mr. Makaran Boy as our today's speaker. He's a certified Microsoft trainer and a consultant at Synergetics. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in AI and cloud technologies. This session provides a high level overview of the tools, services, and best practices for migrating applications and databases to AWS. It covers essential services like AWS Database Migration Service, AWS Application Migration Service, and various data transfer options, including data sync, transfer family, and Snow family devices. We run communities on Meetup. This is the emerging technology community. Anyone who are eager to learn about technological knowledge can join this community on Meetup. We have multiple communities in Pune, Gujarat, Nagpur, and Indore. Those who are interested to join this community, please log into the Meetup app and gain your knowledge for free. So accelerate your cloud journey with the AWS webinar series calendar. Whether you are getting started or looking to deepen your expertise, our curated webinar series has something for everyone. So launch your tech career with AWS Basics, which is perfect for beginners. Understand AWS fundamentals, explore career roles, and kickstart your certification journey. For IT professionals and developers, dive into cloud architecture, migrations, and advanced tools like machine learning and prompt engineering. For data and AI professionals, master data strategies, analytics, and AI essentials that help you stay ahead in a data-driven world. For business and technical decision makers, gain clarity on cloud investments, generative AI use cases, and why AWS certification adds strategic value. Join our expert led sessions and future proof your skills with AWS. I would like to take a moment to share information about the certification workshops we conduct at Synergetics. These webinars you have been attending are designed to give you a brief overview and summary of the full course content. However, the actual certification training programs for this courses run over 4 days, and we are currently offering them at a special discounted rate exclusively for webinar attendees. On my screen, you can see the list of in demand certification courses we are currently focusing on. For more details or to register, I'll share contact to one of my colleagues, Mr. Vivek Balasundaram. You can connect with him for more details regarding these courses. So do follow us on our social media platforms to get relevant updates on upcoming webinars, workshops, and certification trainings we do. Also, I've already shared the link in the chat box. Thank you so much everyone for listening to me. Now we'll hand over the mic to a speaker. Makaran sir, you can take over from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. Sure. So, Shubh, you just let me know whether my screen is visible or not. Is my screen is visible? Can you see my
Yes, sir.
screen?
It's visible.
Yeah, okay. So thank you so much. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on migrating application and databases to AWS. So before we start with the webinar, let me introduce quickly myself, though Shubh has already introduced me. So my name is Makrand Bhoir. I'm having around 19 plus years of teaching plus development experience. I'm Microsoft certified trainer as well as AWS authorized instructor. So I've completed various certification from Microsoft and AWS side. So I have conducted a lot of training into cloud at TCS, Accenture, Capgemini, L&T Infotech, Siemens. So these are some of my clients' name where I have delivered the training. Okay, so in this short webinar, so we will be discussing how can we migrate our database, which might be present on the on-premise data center, which is my company machine, or which is present inside any other cloud, how to migrate that to a AWS cloud. So we will see how to migrate a databases to the AWS and how to migrate our application to the AWS. So migrating application and databases to the AWS. So I have categorized this section or this webinar series into a two section. The first section we will be discussing on, database management, database migration service, and second, section we will be discussing on the application migration service. So let's start with our first section where we will be discussing about database migration service. So you should be able to describe after completing this section, high level AWS services, the services and resources which are present and tools which are necessary for database migration. Okay, so let's see. So these are the phases of our migration. That could be a database migration we are talking. So in the migrate and modernize phase, you can identify services that assist with servers, database, and application migration for customer such as AWS, AWS migration service or AWS, database management, database migration service. So you have to identify a services, which can help you to migrate your workload to a respective cloud. Okay. So then deploy those workload to the AWS. After you deploy your workload to the AWS, you need to deploy a cutover over, uh, cutover work stream and more, to move the application to the AWS. Okay, and so after that, my workload can be migrated, onto the AWS, which is might be using a modern operating mode. So these are the phases. So you need to identify first the services which can help you to do a migration. Okay. And then mobilize those services, plan for cutout. Okay. And then migrate it to a AWS service. So we have one service called as application migration service, which can help you to migrate a database which is present on the EC2 instance. You know, so application migration service is another service which is present in the AWS, which will help you to migrate entire database which is running inside the EC2 instance. You know, so which might be present on you know your machine, your on-premise machine, and that your entire machine can move to the AWS by using application migration service. You know, so application migration service will help you to migrate your entire servers from on-premise or from any other cloud to AWS cloud. So AWS database migration service, so which is a specialized service for database migration. You know, so which can help you to migrate your database, which is running your on-premise data center. Maybe you might be running MySQL or Oracle or SQL Server or PostgreSQL. So any kind of a database you can migrate to the AWS. So it will help you to do a migration of your homogeneous database, as well as it will help you to perform a migration of your heterogeneous database. So understand what is homogeneous? Homogeneous means what? If you're having, on your on-premise, you're having MySQL, then on the AWS also, if you need a MySQL server, then you are doing, MySQL to MySQL database migration. That is homogeneous. But if you're having on-premise, let's say Oracle database, which you need to migrate on the PostgreSQL database, that you're doing a heterogeneous migration. So which will help you in both homogeneous migration as well as heterogeneous migration. So AWS database migration service, which is very, very popular service, which will, if you use that service, you will have literally, zero downtime. That's a benefit of using the database migration service, DMS service. So to understand what is the value proposition of making use of DMS, database migration. So it helps us to recognize the challenges to perform database migration. So basically, to understand value proposition of a AWS DMS, it will help us to recognize the challenges performing a database migration. So database migration is very, very integral part of cloud journey or cloud migration journey. It often most challenging task when in your entire migration journey, where your customer expect with the minimum downtime, so your migration task can be completed. Okay, your customer expect the migration task need to be completed as early as possible, as quickly as possible. You know, so migration team typically has to address complex issues such as, for example, heterogeneous database migration. Database migration often involves, the things like data consolidation as well as application refactoring. So those things also need to be, handled by the database migration team, or overall the migration team, cloud migration team need to, take care of these, problems also. So these are typical challenges of doing any kind of a cloud migration. Now we do have varieties of services which will offer us to create any relational databases on the AWS. So one of the service which will allow us to create RDBMS, relational databases on the service, which is called as, you know Amazon RDS. RDS stands for Relational Database Service. So it is one of the managed service from the AWS. Managed service means what? So starting with creating a database server, managing that database server, doing a patching of that database server, handling the security of a database server, everything is a responsibility of a AWS. You know. So, so when you make use of a AWS RDS, so normally all that administrative task, will be handled by AWS. Okay. So that is one of the most important benefit of any kind of a cloud, which provides you, the managed services. So AWS RDS, Amazon RDS service will allow you to create a database for MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, so etc. So Amazon RDS is a managed service which differentiate it from a traditional on-premise database. It can replace most of the managed database. For example, your RDS can initiate in a minute, without needing for hardware or software installation. For example, you to do a hardware and software installation. So when you go and choose a RDS, everything will be installed, within a minutes, within few minutes. Okay. So RDS is a popular service which we are going to use. Now, if you look at, let's say, now what we are going to do in this session. So actually, I am the Microsoft certified trainer as well as AWS authorized instructor also. So I do have access of a Microsoft Azure as well as, AWS. So what I'm going to do, I have already created on the Microsoft Azure one virtual machine. In that virtual machine, I have already installed the MySQL server. So I'll show you. So this is my Azure portal. If I go to this virtual machine, you will see I have couple of virtual machine that is pre-created for this particular session. So in this virtual machine, this is your virtual machine where we have created a MySQL database. So I have installed the MySQL database and created some tables inside that database so that I can migrate that database, entire database along with table and data, to the AWS platform using DMS, using database management, or sorry, database migration service. So I will go and make use of a public IP address. So if I connect to this machine, so by using remote desktop protocol, I will connect to this machine. Okay. It will populate me for username and the password. So this is my username and I will put my password. Once you entered the valid credential, it will allow you to log in to the database. So this is where I have installed, okay, my database. So I can access that database by opening MySQL Workbench. You can open it locally or you can open it on my machine. This is my laptop. This is my laptop where I have opened this portal.azure.com. Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll just go and open the MySQL Workbench in this machine itself, and I'll show you what database I have created. Okay. So over here, if you look at so this is the file. I will just go and open that SQL file. Okay. So let me see whether I have this database or not. So that is present. And if I say this, you'll be able to see some data. So you're having some data present inside this database. And this database is present on the local machine, this local machine. So the IP address of that local machine is 4.206.0.66. So on this virtual machine, I have a database called as HR demo, which I would like to take in my AWS by using one of the database migration pattern called as lift and shift. So you're going to simply lift the database from this this platform. So this might be your on-premise platform. This might be your Azure platform. This might be your GCP platform, or this might be any other platform, So any platform you can migrate your database to the AWS by using a lift and shift simply, you know. So database migration is a methodology are dedicated by source and target database. No? So this is going to be your source database and this will be your target database. So in this case, what is our source database? Azure will be our source and AWS will be our target. No? So as I discussed, we can do database migration, which is our homogeneous or which can be heterogeneous. Homogeneous means what? One database I am having on premise, the same database I am having on AWS. So the database migration is called as a homogeneous. Okay, one database I am having, let's say Oracle database, and maybe another database I am converting into MySQL or converting into Postgre. So that is heterogeneous migration. So DMS, database migration service, will allow you to do homogeneous migration as well as heterogeneous database migration. Sorry. Okay. So AWS DMS, database migration service, help you to migrate, database quickly and securely. You can use AWS DMS to migrate your data to and from your open source databases or your database, which is maybe license-based database, including your Oracle database, SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB. So all those databases can be migrated with the zero downtime. Okay, with the help of AWS DMS, database migration service. So let's look at how is the architecture will look like when you do perform that migration. So, so this migration has these two component. One is a source and another is a target. So target is going to be our AWS. So our source can be my on-premise. On-premise means what? As simple as that. You can make use of a company data center, or it can be AWS, it can be GCP. So maybe I can make use of any kind of Azure services also. Maybe Azure SQL DB, which can be migrated over here to Amazon RDS. That is also possible. In our case, we are having Azure virtual machine where my MySQL database is installed. So I want to migrate that MySQL database from Azure database, no, sorry, Azure virtual machine into AWS RDS. So source can be on-premise. It can be any database which is running on any EC2 instance, or you can do even migration for a database which is running on the on-premise to on-premise also, or migration from RDS to RDS also. You know, so while doing migration, so you will have to go and configure few things. So for example, you will be configuring a replication instance. So what is this? So when you do a transfer between source to target, maybe from Azure to AWS, you need to create a replication instance. So this is the one of the core of DMS, and run in the private cloud. So which is actually does your migration task. So who will perform, where your migration task is going to perform on the replication instance. So this is kind of a machine which will be created during DMS. you know then once I define replication task, second thing, I should define a source endpoint, and I should define target endpoint. you know so source endpoint will identify this source. In our case, this will identify our Azure machine, and target endpoint will identify our RDS. And then I have to configure a task. So this is going to be your migration task. So I need to create that migration task, and once I create that migration task, I can run that migration task. So where this migration task will be running? So on the replication instance. So when we create all these things, when we set up all these things, then I can do migration from the source database to the target database. So DMS is very, very popular service, okay, which can help you to, do migration very, very easy. Otherwise, it will be very tough job to do a migration. So I hope you guys are able to understand. Okay, so with this, quickly, let me go and create a DMS service. So let me go to my AWS. Okay, and I'll just go and search for DMS database migration service. I'll open that database migration service. So under the database migration service, you will be clicking on this get started. So if you look at over here, in a migrate data section, so you need to create the replication instance. Then you need to set up your source and target endpoints. Okay, and you need to set up a migration task. So let's see. Replication instance. I have already created replication instance because it normally takes a time to create a replication instance. Maybe we'll have to wait for maybe 10 to 15 minutes of a time to create the replication. So to avoid that, so I've just created replications. So you can go and create a replication instance by clicking on this create new replication instance. You know? So once we do that, I can go and set up a target endpoint and source endpoint. Okay. So what is target endpoint and source endpoint? So source is our Azure virtual machine where my MySQL database is running. And our target is going to be, so I have not created a target. So let me just go and search for AWS RDS. Okay. I'll just click on this RDS and I'll just go and create a database. So let me create quickly an database and we'll create database which is compatible for maybe SQL. Can I make use of a SQL only? That's okay. I'll just go and make use of a SQL. And I'll just go and make use of a free tier. I'll just make use of a dev test. So database one will be my database cluster. Okay, so admin is going to be my username and I will configure my password by myself only. Okay, so let me configure my password. So we'll have to enter master password and we'll have to confirm that same password. Okay, and I'm making use of a database instance. So this is a database instance I'm going to use. So this is the smallest database instance which is available for me. And once so this is the storage information. So I'll just not configure anything in the storage. I need a public connectivity. So I should go and enable this public access. And over here, so I will just go and make use of a default security group. So where your 3306, which is the port number of MySQL, should be configured, which is in my case, it's already configured in the default security group. And let me go and create with these all information. Let me go and create the database. So this will cost you somewhere around this money. So which is very expensive, I would say. So I'm not created this multi asset. So I'll just go and create a free instance only. So that will save me from the cost. And if you look at down below, and let me create. So this will take maybe few minutes, maybe couple of minutes to create this database. So while this database is, creating, let me just go and configure, our endpoint. So what we are discussing, so we are discussing this. So inside our database migration, so we are trying to configure the source and the target. So let's see how to configure source first. So create endpoint. I will say source endpoint. So where is the source endpoint? What is the name? So source MySQL, that is the endpoint name. So endpoint identifier can be anything. Then what is the database you're having? So I'm having MySQL, and I will provide, where is that MySQL is present, all that information manually. So on which server your database is present, So over here, I should place the IP address of a server where my database is present. So in our case, my database is present in this virtual machine, which is present on the Azure. So let me take that virtual machine IP address. Okay. And I will put 3306. So this is an port number of MySQL. So this port number 3306 should be enabled in the network security group of Azure. So we have already configured that 3306 port number in the network security group initially. So once we do that, then let us enter the username and the password. Okay. So username and the password for accessing my source. So I have created one username for this migration task. I have gone ahead and already created one user called as migration user. So migration user I've just created, and some password I have set up for that migration user. Okay. So we'll be entering that whatever user you have configured. So whatever be the name of that user and password you have set. So just choose the password. Okay. So once you do this, let me come down. Okay. And let me test connectivity. So it is testing your connectivity. So it is checking basically this. So this is where you're configuring your DMS, database migration service. So database migration service, you're configuring a source. So from where it will pick up a data and where it will store a data. So we are configuring as of now the source. Hopefully my test connection will be successful. Yeah. So this is successful. Good. So let me go and create this endpoint. So your source endpoint is created. Okay. Likewise, now my database also be ready. So it is still configuring, but by the way, this is an endpoint using which I can connect to that database. Okay. So let me just go and configure my target endpoint also. So we have already done source endpoint configuration. Now let us do where I want to migrate. So I want to migrate it to the AWS. Where? RDS. So we are already RDS database instance. So let me pick up that database instance. So it is AWS. Hence, AWS is picking up. AWS is identifying the database, and you're able to pick up that from the drop-down list. Now, so that access information I will provide by myself. So let me just provide that access information by myself. So this is the database uh, endpoint. So this is exactly same. This endpoint is used for accessing the database. So you can go and make use of this for accessing from your MySQL workbench also. So I can also go and access this database present over here, from my local workbench also. Okay. 3306 is a port number. Admin is a username. While creating a RDS, we have specified that admin username, and this is the password I have set during creation of a RDS database. So I don't want to specify any kind of a SSL mode, and I will be testing the connection. Let's see. Hopefully this will also will be successful. So if you are having some doubt or any question, please write in the chat box, please. I'm constantly looking at the chat. If you are having any question, please ask that question in the chat. Yeah, so my target endpoint is also successfully connected. Can you see this? So this is successfully connected. So let me just create the endpoint. Yeah. So try to recall what we need to do when we go and set up our database migration service. I need replication instance. I need source endpoint and target endpoint. And finally, I need a migration task to define. So migration task will specify what to, copy or what to load from source to target. So since my database is very small database, okay, which has only 3 tables: employee table, jobs table, and departments table. So only these 3 tables are present inside my database. So that all 3 database table will be migrated to this database. So let me just go and connect first from my local workbench, MySQL workbench. This is I'm opening my local workbench, and I'll create new connection, and I'll just give a connection name as a DMS demo, and host name I'll specify that endpoint. So this is my host name, and this is my username. I will test connection, and it will ask me a password. I should enter the password. And once I successfully enter the password, no, the connection is successful. You see? So now if you just go and open this, so this is your DMS demo. So if you open that DMS demo, so it will take you into that, so you'll be able to see how many databases are present inside that. You know? So currently I'm having only one database, sys database. Can you see? So now when I define a migration task and when I perform that migration, so you will see all those database or this particular database should be migrated to the AWS. So let's define our migration task. So that is our last thing from this demo. So we will define database migration task. I will create new database migration task. I can specify the task name. So this is going to be DB migration task. Okay. And where is your replication instance? I have already created one replication instance. So I select that replication instance. I have already created and set up an source database endpoint. Let me pick up source database endpoint and target database endpoint also. No? And then you see this now it is giving you a choice, whether you want to migrate a data from source to target. So I want to do a migration only once. If you want to do a migration, repeatedly, you can choose, the appropriate option. So I want to do a migration only once. That's the reason I'll just go and pick up this option. Then if you scroll down, so drop table on the target, if that, is already present, so we'll drop that table. So I will go and drop that table. And if you scroll down, I don't want to do any kind of a pre-migration assessment. So I'll disable that pre-migration assessment. So I'll turn off that pre-migration assessment. And whether it is specifying whether you want to create the migration task and run that migration task automatically. So let's do this. So I will create it and run that migration task automatically. So so here it is specifying at least one selection is required. So over here, it is asking you to select some selection rule. So between source and target, how the migration will happen. So what source schema you want to copy to the target schema. So that thing you can specify in this selection. So I will be specifying the source schema name. Okay. So that percentage sign is a wildcard. So that means everything which is present in the source, I want that, to be present in the target. Okay. If you want to copy only specific database, you can specify only selected a database only. Okay. So let's do it for all the database which are present in the source. And let me create now finally migration task. So it is creating migration task, and probably it should take maybe 10 minutes of time to complete this migration task completely. Why? Because my database is very tiny. It has only uh, three tables, and that tables also has few records only. So it should not take more than 10 minutes. uh. So after this 10 minutes, my database migration task will be completed. And after it completes, so I should see the table over here. So currently, I don't have any table. Okay, so I should see basically that HR demo database. And under that HR demo database, so I should have three tables. So it is starting, migration in a progress. Okay, so while that is in a progress, let me go through the presentation. Now, so I'll just go and repeat this. So migration task, you need to define database migration service. When you define a database migration service, very first thing, you need a replication instance where your actually migration of a database will take place. Then you need a source endpoint. You know, so this will identify where to copy your data. Then your target endpoint. This will identify where to paste that data. So from which source to copy and which source to paste that data. Then, of course, your migration task. And this migration task will be executed on this instance. You know, so as we discussed, replication instance. So we have discussed replication instance. So what is that replication instance? So where your migration task will execute. So AWS DMS replication instance is a kind of a server, okay, uh, which is going to be ultimately a EC2 instance. Okay, so it hosts one or more tasks to perform your work of database replication. Okay, and which will the carry forward, or which will take place your migration task. So replication instance is a secure by AWS, and which is going to use some kind of AWS key management service to secure that that EC2 instance. Okay, so which is going to use you have a choices of using this T3 size. So if you're having a small task, so in our case, we are having a small task. So we can just go and make use of a T3, or if you're having a big database to transfer, then instead of using a T3, I can just go and make use of a C5, which is relatively better instance as compared to the T3. You know, so replication instance, okay, in short, ultimately uh, EC2 instance only. Okay. Then replication task perform the actual data transfer, performs the actual data migration. Okay. So replication instance is a host which can perform the replication task. So replication instance is a host, or is a maybe a machine where your task can be executed. What task? To transfer a data from this source to this destination. isn't it? You know, so you can just go and make use of this. So one of the benefit of making use of a DMS server is that zero downtime or near zero downtime, when you do a migration. know. So while it does a migration task, database migration task, so it is going to set up some kind of VPN or some kind of direct service. So that service is called as I think direct service is the name of the service. So it will create a DMS instance. Very first thing, I should go and create a DMS instance. When I go and create a DMS instance, then I should configure a source and target database by using an endpoint. Then I should choose, what data to migrate by defining a task, and when you do that, after that, when I complete that configuration, I can start with the actual task of database migration. And when it does start your database migration, it will just go and make use of a virtual private network, and some kind of a VPN connection. So where your data get transferred, because it is on the public machine. So from the public machine, you want to transfer it on the AWS. So there has to be some kind of a VPN connection connectivity to 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 secure that transfer. So once that transfer is completed, I can just go and connect to this by using our client tool called as Workbench, the MySQL Workbench. So I can just go and confirm that by using that MySQL Workbench. Okay, so by now my transfer should be ready. There you go. So you can see the data HR demo database is present over here. So now I can just go and say use HR underscore demo. Okay, and select star from is the name employees. So it is still fetching the database table. So your database is created, but database table is not yet created. So let's see the status. Oops, there are some errors, but it has completed 100%. Let's see. Okay, so I'll just verify it after some time. Maybe it is still refreshing. So it's still fetching that tables. So once I verify it after some time, I'll just able to confirm whether my tables are present or tables are migrated or you know. Now, if you are doing, oh, by the way, guys, if you are having any kind of a question, you can write in the form of a chat. I'll just have a look at the chat box at regular interval. Migration time, in our case, since our database is very small, it will migrate the database in few minutes only. But it can take, if your database is a big in size, it can take up to few days, few months also, if your data is very, very huge. Mm. So that depends on you know the bandwidth you are using. That is also very important. Okay. So if you're having very huge data, it can take even several months also. Okay, even if you're using AWS, because ultimately it is depend on your bandwidth also on premise, where how much bandwidth you are having. You know? So this is very, very important tool called as SCT, you know, so which is stands for Schema Control Tool. So if you're migrating a database, the heterogeneous database. So maybe you are having Oracle database over here. You want to migrate it to the MySQL, or you want to migrate it to the SQL Server or PostgreSQL. So then you need one SCT tool, which is called as basically schema control tool. You know, so which helps you to convert database tables present inside the source into the target database. So this is the tool which AWS will allow you to download, and that tool you should go and execute on your source machine where you want to transfer your database to the target machine. So you want to execute that, you want to run that, SCT tool on the source schema. By the way, AWS SCT will help you in migrating heterogeneous database. So it converts the source database schema and database code, database code object like views, stored procedure, functions, triggers to the format which is compatible of the target database. You know, okay. So we have discussed migrating a database, and let me just go and confirm whether it is ready or not. Or let me rerun this migration task. Okay. So I will rerun this migration task, and this will take again few minutes. Oh, by the way, once we do that completely, I am expecting over here a few tables. Though these databases are popped up, but I was expecting that table also, or I should have connected this database once again. So let me close this and connect this once again. Let's see. Yeah. So all three tables are present over here. Can you see this? If you look at departments, so you will be able to see you will be able to see the data which is present in the department table. Can you see? If you look at this employees, you will be able to see data which is present inside the employees table. You so I've connected to the AWS database. So which is successfully able to migrate you know Azure or the database which is present inside Azure VM to the AWS successfully by using DMS, database migration service. You know, so let's see how my application migration service, and let's see something about application migration service and by using which we will be able to do the migration of our servers, so from the on-premise to the AWS. Okay, so that will take a lot of time. So if I look at a very small, machine also, if I want to move to the AWS, that will at least minimum take, it will take minimum 4 hours of a time. You know, so at least we will be able to create some task to perform this migration. So let's see this migration service, application migration service. So after completing this section, you should be able to, migrate migrate the database, or not a database, migrate the servers, the machines, to the AWS by using application migration service. That is also called as MGN, AWS MGN. Okay, so let's see. So application migration is highly automated, and this is kind of a lift and shift solution that simplifies and which makes the process faster and reduce the cost of migrating application to the AWS. You know, so it it uh, it pick up or it lift the machines from your on-premise, and it will go and store that machine, to the AWS. Okay. So AWS Management Console, has this service called as MGN, Application Migration Service, that provides seamless integration with the other AWS services. For example, you can configure, while configuring that migration task, you can configure like AWS CloudTrail, AWS CloudWatch, and other services like IAM. Okay, for authentication and authorization purpose. You know, so that integration with other, AWS services is possible when I go and make use of a migration service. Okay, then the service uses also EC2 launch template, to define how to launch, target virtual machine, and when we select our you know, the source virtual machine. By the way, what we are going to do, So here we are having, so this is our target virtual machine. So let's see this. This is our target, sorry, this is our source virtual machine. Okay. And this source virtual machine, I want to lift and shift to the AWS. So how can I do that? How can I lift and shift to the AWS with the help of a application migration service? AWS application migration service will allow me to lift this machine and store it to the AWS EC2 instance. You know? So if I use that, okay, look at this. So now there are actually two process. So you have actually agent-based replication or agent-less replication. You know, so this architecture, you know, uh, give you a visualization of an agent-based replication. You know, so this has two parts. The pre-migration environment. So this is going to be your pre-migration environment. Staging area, subnet, staging area, subnet. These are your pre-migration environment, and then AWS cloud infrastructure after your migration is complete, isn't it? So let's say from whichever source location you want to migrate. Let's say I want to migrate from my source company data center. Or in our case, I want to migrate my Azure virtual machine. So this is going to be my Azure virtual machine. You can think of this is our Azure virtual machine. So what you need first, you need the agent. So from where you're going to get the agent? So from AWS migration service will give you a agent. So that agent you should go and execute or you should run on your source machine. And once you run that on your source machine, it will provide, first, it will go and provide first, the test machine, you know, and that test machine, once you completely test, and then after that, you can cut over to the production machine. So this is going to be your production. So this process is very simple. The first thing you have to generate the agent by using application migration service. Once you generate the agent, you have to execute that agent on the source machine. Once you execute that agent on the source machine, it will provide some kind of a test machine to you. You can just go and perform several tests, and once you are happy, okay, you can just go and cut out that test machine to the production machine. Okay, so these are the steps which are involved in the Suresh. So prerequisite for this session. So you should be having some at least some basic knowledge of a AWS, because we are discussing the migration between AW on-premise to the AWS. So you should already have some working knowledge or some knowledge of a AWS at least. Okay, that is the prerequisite, because if you don't know the AWS, then it will find very difficult for you to understand this, what I am discussing, because uh, I'm not going to get a time to explain what is EC2, what is S3. So all those are important services which you should have and knowledge. Okay. So now let us do that. Let us go into that application migration service. So let me search for application migration service, which is also called as a MGN, AWS MGN migration service. So if I just go and open application migration service, you know, so initially, if you don't have anything, migrate it. So you will see only simple add machine, add server, you know, and once I click add server, so this is going to provide you an agent. So what we have discussed over here. So the step one, you need an agent. So who is going to give you an agent? So agent will be provided by, okay, the migration service. So this migration service will give you an agent. Okay. So this is going to give you an agent. So let us get that agent. Okay, Suresh, if you have a question, you can ask a question in the chat, please. I can see you have raised the hand. Now let me go and choose some information. So for creating AWS replication agent, so this will help you to replicate your machine, your server from on-premise to the AWS. So what we are considering, the on-premise machine is Azure. So whatever be the machine present over here in the Azure, I want to migrate it to the AWS. So let's go and so that machine is Windows-based machine. Okay. On that machine, I was having what Windows Server 2025. So this is my Windows-based machine, which is having what Windows Server 2025. That's the operating system. So let's go and pick up modern OS, which is maybe greater than 2012. I want to replicate all the disk. So there are two disks present in the my virtual machine, my web virtual machine, OS disk and temporary disk. And I should go and provide some IAM access key and IAM, secret access key. So this is the prerequisite. Another topic which you should know, IAM, because I will not get the time to explain you what is IAM. So if I just go inside the IAM, if I just look at the users, there is one user I have already configured for this particular purpose only. And that user, I have given one permission, and that permission is this AWS application migration agent installation policy. So that I have given to that user. So if I just go inside security credential, so down below, I should get some access key. You see this? Okay. So this is the access key. Okay. So I have generated. So let me just go and delete this access key. And let me pick up the access key ID. And let's delete that access key. Okay, so because why I have deleted, because I want to create a new access key. So let me create a new access key for this. And while creating an access key, so I will be able to use that access key on the command line interface only. And I understand the access key need to be kept protected, because you're kind of providing access to your account by giving an access key. So let's create an access key. So once your access key is created, so let me copy that access key and let's keep that access key and keep the value of secret, and that I will just go and make use in this. So what is your access key ID? So let me go and copy this. This is your access key ID. I am access key ID, identity and management. Then I'll pick the secret. Okay. And after that, I will download, can you see this? I will download this installer. Okay. And that installer is acting as an agent. Okay. And you're going to use, this command. So let me copy that command also. So I'll just go and make use of this command, so which is actually going to execute this AWS replication Windows installer. Okay, which I should go and download. This is our agent, so I will go and download that agent. So my agent is downloaded on my laptop. Can you see this? So the name of the agent is AWS replication Windows installer. So I'll copy that agent. So I'll copy this in the source machine, so which I'm planning to migrate. So I'm planning to migrate this machine only. So I'll just go and keep in the C drive. And let me just go and open the command prompt. Or let me just go and open a PowerShell window. So I'll open it as a administrator. Okay, so your AWS replication agent is copied on the C drive. Let me navigate to the C drive. So once I inside the C drive, now let me just copy that command. So this is the command I will just execute on that machine. So this command, when I execute on here, okay. So this execution will go and create. Okay, if you go back, so over here, it should go and create one more, machine. So can you see this? So this is your source server. I am already having a demo VM. Okay, already set up. But here you should see one more VM, which is Windows VM, web server VM, or what is the exact name? Web server VM1. So here you should see in the migration service, you should see web server VM. So let me execute this agent over here. So once I run this agent, I should see that virtual machine should be present over there. Okay. So once you start this agent, what this agent will do, agent will start doing a replication. So once you started this agent, once you download the agent, once you started the agent, now it is going to start replicating your entire machine to the to the AWS. So during replication, so it will just go and set up a small machine, small EC2. Okay, and in that EC2 you will find all the disk. It will get copied and it will start work of transferring your data or application from the source machine to the target machine. And that transfer generally takes depending on your workload. So my machine is a very small machine. That also it will take maybe 4 hours, up to 4 hours of a time. Okay, not less than 3 to 4 hours. So can you see this? My work downloading is completed. Now installing, is in a progress. That agent installation is in a progress. Once the installation is finished, okay, so you will see that machine, migrates over here, and that will be migrated to the staging. So here I should see some machine web VM1 should be available over here. So once the installation is finished, okay, I should see that. Yeah, so my installation is finished. So I should see that machine over here. You see? Now it is started the work of transfer. So it is transferring, okay, the data and application, whatever be the data and the application on this machine. So here I was having what database installed, everything it will get transferred. Here I was having one application installed, IIS application, everything it will get transferred on this machine. So once it transfer, it takes normally, maybe 4 to 5 hours of time, depending on the, of course, on the workload. Once it is done completely, you can just go and, okay, launch. So from this migration service, you can launch the test instance. Once you launch a test instance, you can just go and check whether that instance is working properly or not. Once you happy it is working properly, then you can mark it for ready to cut over. So cutover means what? It will delete the test instance and it will start creating a production instance, which is actually your VM, demo VM will be actually will be created. But this will not show you this option. because it is not yet ready. So you can't initialize as of now. Okay, so this is the service. So here you are having two service we have discussed, the database migration service and application migration service. You know, so in the application migration service, very first thing you will have to install the agent on the source machine. You know, it will go and configure the source machine. Once it is, okay, configure inside the AWS migration service, that machine, you can launch once that complete configuration, you can launch the test instance. And once the test instance, you test it properly, you can cut over from that test instance. And once you cut over from the test instance, whatever be the test instance, it will be deleted. And then whatever production instance that will be created. You know, so this is small session where we have discussed two services, which is our DMS service and our MGN service, which are related to the migration. Database migration service, which is short form DMS, application migration service, short form MGN. Okay. So I've completed my side. You guys are having any kind of a question, you can ask me through some question. Or else, Shubh, it's over to you, Shubh. Are you there? So guys, if you have a question, please ask me. You can write in the chat box your question. Are you there, guys? Can you give me some reaction if you are present? Give me a thumbs up, or maybe raise your hand if you are listening to me. Okay, all right. Shubh, are you there? Okay, then, guys. So thank you so much for attending this. And we will hope to see you in the next time. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so you may disconnect from this. So I've done from the session. So where I have completed two service, DMS, database migration service, where I have successfully able to lift our database, which is present in the um, Azure to the AWS. And then we have, lift our VM, which is present in the Azure, to the AWS. But that is not completed because that is in a progress. So you can see this. So it is in an initial sync up stage. So this will take, nearly 70 minutes to complete the sync up. Once it complete the sync up, then it will start configuration, and configuration again, it will take, more than an hour. Got it? So thank you. Thank you everyone for attending this. Thank you, Krishna. So guys, you may get disconnect. I will disconnect this session. Shubh, are you there? If you have any kind of a closing statements, you can. So thank you everyone. Thank you, Isen. Thank you, Irana. Thanks so much. Okay, so I'll disconnect.
Everyone, please do fill the feedback form before ending this session. It's really very important. Please do give your feedback before ending this session. Thank you so much once again.